Pillars of the Earth, review of the TV miniseries. So this is part of my television addiction series in which I talk about all the TV I watched from 2011 to 2012 when I was living in Cambodia and watching way too many DVDs. Pillars of the Earth is a TV miniseries that a friend of mine introduced me to in 2011 when I was back in the United States for a while. This is actually, incidentally, the same friend who introduced me to Downton Abbey, which I talked about in the previous review. He also showed me some of Pillars of the Earth, and he said this is a really great show. And then I saw it in a DVD store in Cambodia, and I decided to try it out. It's based on a novel, and it's historical fiction with some real historical names and personages incorporated into it. So that tickles my fancy. I've always been a big fan of historical fiction. The miniseries was made in 2010, and it's 8 parts. Each part is an hour long, and I watched the whole thing, even though I didn't really like it all that much. This is one of those things where you're watching the first few episodes, kind of watching to see where this is going to go, seeing if it gets any better, and it's definitely watchable. It's not like it's boring per se. It's not like it's terrible. It's decently acted, decently directed. There's a lot of really good actors in this. There's Ian McShane, who I didn't actually, at the time I watched this, it was before I got into Deadwood, so I didn't really even appreciate who he was at the time. But going back and rewatching some clips of it now on YouTube, I recognize him and I can appreciate him and his style of acting a bit more. And then Eddie Redmayne, before he got famous, is in this. And then, what's his name? Sorry, I'm blanking on the names now. The guy from MASH plays one of the old father figures. Sorry, ignore me. I'll remember his name as soon as I turn off the camera. I always blank on names when I'm doing this. Point is, a number of decent actors are in this television miniseries. But for my money, it was overly cheesy, overly sappy, and overly melodramatic. And I think, well, this is another TV series that I binge watched. I watched all 8 hours of this in I don't remember over how many days, but a couple days or something like that. Just watched the whole thing very quickly. And I think this doesn't really hold up that well to binge watching, if it holds up at all. Because the thing is, the conflict feels a little bit forced, meaning the bad guys in this drama are a little bit too bad. They're just a little bit too conniving and too evil, and just evil for the sake of being evil. Like the good guys are very good, and then the bad guys are very bad. And it's meant to be very clear who you're rooting for, but it just felt a little bit cartoonish to me. And I think that's the kind of thing I can handle in a 2-hour movie. But once you start stretching this out into 8 hours, stretching it out is maybe the wrong word. There's definitely 8 hours of plot in here. Like in terms of storyline, there's enough going on. But in terms of character motivation or depth of character, this is what I felt was sorely lacking. I mentioned this as a historical drama. It incorporates fictional characters and real characters, but it's based on a period of English history where there was a civil war going on. I guess Henry the First had died. Let me try and do the coherent version of this. Henry the First had lost his heir on a shipping accident, and then he died with his daughter Maud. And she had a boy, but then the throne goes to a guy named Stephen, so Maud and her child go over to France, and it's a period of civil war culminating with Henry II eventually assuming the throne. This is something I'm vaguely familiar with through my listening to This Sceptered Isle, which I've reviewed on this channel previously. It's a BBC radio series that goes through the whole history of England. And they do talk about this period in that radio drama. I couldn't actively talk about it with any knowledge, but I'm passively familiar with it because I remembered having listened to it on the BBC drama. And so once I kind of saw the names of the characters, I'm like, I remember that. But the miniseries is not at all historically accurate. They take so many liberties with history. A few of them I was able to catch myself, although a lot of them I had to go to Wikipedia to kind of catch what they were doing. And I don't know. I usually feel if you're going to have a miniseries, it's going to be a historical drama, why not just have the history be broadly accurate? I felt like, admittedly, there's always a line here. You know, you can't be 100% accurate because it is a drama. You can't be totally inaccurate because then people will be like, well, what is this? And so there's this neat middle line you've got to thread. And I think they were too much to the side of totally inaccurate. All that being said, though, apparently the book that this is based on is much better. Since I've seen this miniseries, I've gotten into this conversation, I don't know how many times, at least 5 times, maybe 7 or 8 times, where I've been talking to somebody about historical fiction, and they'll say, The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, what a great book. And I'll say, well, I saw the miniseries and I wasn't that impressed. And they'll say, no. The book is so much better than the miniseries. They say, you know, if you didn't like the miniseries, I don't blame you. Miniseries changed some things around. It wasn't as good. I think the book is supposed to be much more historically accurate as well, for those of us who care about these things. But I've just had that conversation so many times now where so many people have recommended the book to me, even after I said I didn't like the miniseries, that one of these days I just am finally going to have to check out the book, see what I've been missing. But that'll be for another day.